Does your vehicle have some unsightly body damage that you'd like to reverse? If only it was just as easy as hitting rewind and undoing that damage, or being able to take a different line. A lot of people find bodywork to be a really daunting thing. It's not like just working on an engine, you know, it has to look good. So there's a lot of trial and error that goes into it. But hopefully what I can do for you here today is to give you these 7 easy steps to do this at home so that you can get good results that you're happy with, that you're proud of, that make your vehicle look a whole lot more presentable. Let's get right into it. You can see there's definitely a lot of different aspects to this damage. And the best advice that I've ever been given with accident damage like this is that you want to reverse the accident. I can do my best now to try and reverse what happened by pulling on the areas in the way that they were pushed to make this happen. The first thing that you want to do is to remove any parts that are going to be in the way, or parts that you don't want to affect by your bodywork project. And you want to mask off any areas that you would like to protect from both sanding and painting. Soapy water mixture. All of this, especially down here, this needs to come back out. You want to make sure that you mask off all the areas, not only that you don't want to sand or strip, but that you don't want to get dust into. One important thing to note is that I've left the interior panel accessible, that I could get tools inside there to push out from the inside if I needed to. Make sure you remove anything that could catch on fire from the stud welder if you're using one, such as insulation. There's not a whole lot of access to the inside of this area, unfortunately. I've already kind of done what I could from that, but you may actually be able to pop out most of your dents just from removing the interior panel and getting into it from there. You're probably still, at that point, it's going to be pretty rough, so you're still going to need some way of pulling the rest of these dents and smoothing them. I am at some point going to be reaching a hammer and dolly around to these areas to smooth that out. I'll show you what that looks like. So I can reach the majority of this just to get my hand in there, but I'm not going to be swinging anything at it. I punched a lot of this stuff out through this one hole, which is a factory hole that I bent and kind of mangled a little bit there. Before you do any stripping or sanding, you want to make sure you have either a respirator or an N95 mask at minimum, so you're not breathing all this junk into your lungs. The next step is to strip the area down to bare metal as much as possible. It's especially important to do this if you're going to be welding to the metal anywhere. At this point, it's pretty easy to tell where high and low spots really fall. Obviously, high spots, or maybe they're where they should be, and then there's low spots. So, you know, this was obvious. Kind of all beat in like somebody took a ball peen hammer to it. And this really divots in right here, back at this body line, or the end of the body here. So here's a really cool tool that I'm going to be using. I've never used one of these before. This is a stud welder. Magnus Spot 1000 is the part here that I have. And basically this gun just welds a stud to the body, which you then attach the slide hammer to, and it gives you a good point to be able to pull. This is not a requirement for doing body work. I've done plenty of body work without something like this. It really just depends on where the dents are, how deep they are, and what you're trying to accomplish. So in this case, this seemed to be the best tool for the job. And there's a lot of other accessories for this thing that would allow you to manipulate different types of dents in different areas of the vehicle body. I've got a stud loaded in there, you can see, and the instructions are to press this against the metal and hold the trigger for 1/2 to 1 second. I have 3 more studs up in this area, and I've already pulled them a little bit. In this step, we're reversing the accident. We are manipulating the body by pushing, pulling, hammering, whatever it takes to get the sheet metal as close to normal as possible. I mean, it's just so much better already. It's crazy. Some body hammers and dollies are a tool that you're definitely going to need for any bodywork job, large or small. This is an Eastwood kit that I've had for a number of years, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it. Right now it looks like I've got a high spot in here. Definitely still a low spot at these studs, but get down a little bit lower. What I'm going to do now is kind of find the rest of the big dents or dimples, and I'm just going to try and kind of Sharpie the center of them so that I can pull them. Put a stud right where that dot is, and I think it should help me to be able to pull that dent, kind of find it and pull it. So with the mindset of reversing the accident, I kind of need to start looking into some of the more hidden damage, and that's going to be kind of this area in here and this. So this was creased right here. This I did in reaching through here to push some of this dent out and be able to get the window back in. There really wasn't any damage above this point here, so the D-pillar structure is fine on the inside. Got some here and some here. So I just kind of need to look into this. This is going to be probably more hammer and dolly once the studs are off to get most of this out of here. But, you know, and kind of looking at what's been altered, what's straight, this is kind of where I need to turn my attention to next and make sure that this is back where it needs to be. You know, essentially reversing the force that bent this. So the kind of the easier part of what I'm doing is just, you know, finding a dent, finding the center of the dent, pulling it out, and, you know, applying the force in the right direction, and, you know, kind of at the right angle to get that dent properly out. Once the dents are out, it's then kind of the more advanced aspect of this, and that's going to be finding kind of whether the body is where it needs to be or not. Looking at body lines, do they curve where they should be straight? Do they, you know, are they kind of straight where they need to be curved? Are they curved wrong? If I really look down this body line, you can see right in here, it's curving down. It's also curving in too much. So you're supposed to be able to knock these off with a hammer. Just hitting it sideways. I haven't had any luck with that. So much better. Here's the body damage with all the studs removed. And things are grinded down, sanded down. Each one of these pretty much is a high spot. So I need to massage these down with a hammer now. And kind of regardless of whether you did stud puller like I did, or if you were kind of beating this through from the back side of the panel or the front side of the panel, if it was pushed out, then either way you're going to end up with a lot of irregularities like this.
Once you're happy with the sheet metal, move on to sanding it down and cleaning it before body filler.
Eastwood's body filler that I'm using is recommended to go directly to metal and to use a 36 grit or finer sandpaper. So I used 40 grit to strip this. I've used 80 grit since then. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to feather some of these areas where I'm not really going to be using filler with the 80 grit a little bit more, and then I'm going to come back and hit this with 40 again where I really want the body filler to grab. I'm using Eastwood pre-painting prep, and it's pretty strong stuff, but what I usually do is just spray this on a rag and then wipe the surface with it. It dries almost instantly, so you got to wipe it, otherwise it's just going to disappear and do nothing for you. So I'm going to be using Eastwood Contour Premium Body Filler. This is their kind of top quality body filler.
Apply body filler according to the manufacturer's specifications to smooth out small imperfections in the sheet metal. Here I'm using an Eastwood straight line sander. Straight line sanders are kind of like a block sander. It just allows you to sand down the body filler to a really smooth, even surface.
A little sloppy on this one, but it's sanding off nice. We'll see how it looks after that. So that's 2 coats here, 3 coats up here. At this point, that was I think 5 coats on the top, 4 on the bottom, and I'm ready to prime it.
The final step is just to clean the surface really well. Again, I'm using the Eastwood pre-paint prep, and then I'm applying a 2K Aero Spray Eastwood epoxy primer.
The way these Eastwood 2K paints work, I just got to shake them up. But they've also got this little cap here, which inserts onto this bottom little pin, and that is what introduces the activator to make it the 2K. So let's just follow the instructions here. Shake can for 2 minutes, remove the red button from the cap, don't remove this cap, put it on a hard surface, and you want to puncture that, shake it for 2 more minutes, and then you've got 48 hours to use this can.
The Eastwood epoxy primer is going to seal everything up really well. After a few coats, you can't even tell the difference between sheet metal and body filler. When I'm ready for top coat, all I need to do is sand this down. I can apply another coat of epoxy primer if I want to, and then put on my paint.
Since this is just primer, I could still sand things down and get this even more perfect, maybe a little bit more body filler to touch up. It's really kind of up to you how far you want to take this last step of the process. Be sure to check out our friends at Eastwood. They've got tons of great products, very knowledgeable people there as well. If you have any questions about what's the best product for your particular application, they will jump right in and help you. Looking at the final product right here with everything put back together. If you like this video, chances are you'll love some of these videos too. And if this helped you out, hit like and subscribe. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.